So I've been going to therapy for the better part of 3 years. Almost all of my college life I've been going, and I think that there's some things that people should know that would be useful to them if you're considering therapy for yourself or you're trying to talk your friend or family member into it. Here's some things that I think you should know. First is that people start going to therapy because the stress of their emotions exceeds the stress of talking about their emotions. Because for most people, they love the idea of improving their mental health, but going to a complete stranger and opening yourself up is one of the scariest things you can do, honestly. So it's only something that we typically seek if we're in some sort of crisis or we're just having a really bad time. That's how I started going to therapy, but therapy can also be preventative. So if you can get yourself mental health before things start going really downhill, that would be cool. Obviously that's not always the case, especially with how expensive it can be, but if it's accessible to you, if it's free because you're in college, or maybe it's offered through your job, definitely take advantage of it, because why not? Therapy and just mental health in general has become more accepted over the years. It can still be hard for some people to understand, like your parents or your grandparents maybe, why you need to be spending this money to go talk to somebody about your feelings. Like, that's stupid, right? It's something that is worth sitting down and talking to them about. They may not ever fully understand, but hopefully they understand enough to support you and realize that you're doing something to better yourself. Finding the right therapist is so hard. Every therapy uses different strategies and techniques, and they have different specialties. So it's ideal to find one that suits your individual needs, but also is somebody that you vibe with and somebody that you're comfortable with after a couple of sessions, and that can be really hard. It's also helpful to know that younger people tend to move around a lot, so it might be a good question to ask your therapist if they're planning on moving anytime soon, because I've lost 3 therapists in my lifetime, which is a lot considering I haven't gone to therapy for a very long time, but just ask. I think if you've given a therapist some time and you feel like you're not getting enough out of it, or the energy just isn't there, then it's time to try somebody new. And there's also no shame in just making an appointment with a bunch of people and then just seeing which one you like the most. Give yourself a lot of choices, so hopefully you can find the one that's best for you. Therapy takes a lot of time to work. When I first started going to therapy, I thought it was like, you know, you walked in there and then you emotionally vomit for like the 50-minute therapeutic hour, and then you walk out of there and you feel like a brand new person. But like, that could honestly not be further from the truth. Most of the time, you'll probably walk out of there feeling worse, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. That probably means you're making progress of some sort, because you're talking about things that are difficult or suppressed, or maybe your therapist challenged you a little more than usual. Those are all good things. Ultimately, sometimes what helps you the most is gonna be the hardest thing. There's a lot for you to learn as a client as to what do I need to bring to talk about, or should I be keeping a log of how I've been feeling each day, or how can I be the most self-aware so that I can give my therapist the most useful information for them to help me as much as possible. I would just say it's very uncomfortable to be in therapy sometimes, but definitely stick with it as long as you can, because it's really the things that happen long term where you look back and you're like, oh, like actually I'm different now in a good way. I also personally like to space my sessions out a lot because it's less time consuming and less cost worthy. I like to take time and internalize the things that have been said in therapy, because, you know, it's one thing to like talk about something, but to actually take it and figure out how to integrate it into your life and the way you think and the way you live is completely different. And that's honestly just something that takes time. You need to practice thinking a certain way or being a certain way. I also recommend, like, after therapy, or maybe even during therapy if you would like, just writing down some notes about what you talked about and some things you learned, or maybe like little quotes from like what your therapist said that you really liked and you wanted to stick by you. Or a lot of times they'll recommend books to you, because there's a ton of self-help books out there, just so you don't forget anything, and also because it's just nice to look back on what is the trajectory of what we've talked about and what we've worked on, and how have I evolved and changed. Yeah, take notes. I highly recommend it. I wish you all the best of luck on your mental health journeys. I hope you find a therapist that really works for you and your needs. I hope you find long-term growth in whatever you're going through, and I hope therapy is a really great experience for you, because it's helped a lot of people and it's also helped me. If anyone has anything they'd like to put out in the world about therapy or mental health, leave it in the comments below. We can start a nice conversation. I hope you guys have a great week. Talk to you soon. Bye.